Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. And this is Throwback Thursday, where we normally will talk about a really old movie, but I did get a chance to see Renfield, which is available on streaming now. So if you do want to check it out, you can check it out. But here is our non-spoiler review of Renfield. Let's jump right into it. Alright, so the movie Renfield is a horror comedy starring Nicholas Hoult as the main character, Renfield, who kind of feels as though his relationship with Dracula as Dracula's servant is an abusive relationship. He doesn't feel that any of his needs are being met in this relationship and that he's doing things for Dracula constantly, breaking the law and all this stuff. So he's been seeking help in group therapy and other means to try to find out where he's at as a person. Well, this upsets Dracula, of course. He's not about people that he employs, if you want to use that term, going against his will. So it sets off kind of this plot line where Renfield, while he feels loyal to Dracula, decides to cut ties with him, with disastrous results. Now, Nicholas Hoult plays the main role of Renfield very well. You might remember him from the zombie movie Warm Bodies, where he played the main character, a zombie that falls in love. And that movie is very comical as well. It's different enough that it becomes quite intriguing to watch. So if you have not seen Warm Bodies, I do recommend you watch it. It is based on a book, by the way, which I have not had the privilege of reading the book, but the book is probably better than the movie, as they normally are. Dracula, on the other hand, is played by Nicolas Cage, who does an awesome job, I believe, of kind of channeling the older Dracula, more so Bela Lugosi than any of the others. Now, if you really are a Dracula fan or you have seen any of the other movies, I leave that question to you. Who was the best Dracula in all the movies? Just drop that as a comment. Who was your favorite Dracula of all time? So, for me, it probably was Bela Lugosi, simply because he was the first one I was really introduced to watching the older movies. And I always felt that his performance was quite scary as well. He had this thing about him that made him able to be really scary, and I do think that there are times in this movie when Nicolas Cage does that impression perfectly. The movie also stars Awkwafina as this cop with a temper, and Awkwafina being a cop with a temper is funny in itself, and it works in this movie when it probably shouldn't. This movie has a lot of things about it that work even though it shouldn't. In fact, I would venture to say that this movie would have been an excellent starting off point for the Monsters Cinematic Universe that they were trying to do. Because if you look at those movies, they brought the monsters in and tried to make the monsters into heroes. And you're making these tragic monsters into heroes, that's doable. But it helps to have somebody else there, somebody within the story that the viewer can sort of take along with this monster. And they lack that in a lot of ways. The Dracula movie that was originally done, it kind of presented Dracula in terms of being a hero, but then at the same time, that movie didn't perform as well as they wanted it to. And then they did the whole thing with, oh, we're going to do The Mummy. And The Mummy performed okay, but having Tom Cruise in The Mummy and making it this origin story to how Tom Cruise becomes the Mummy really didn't make that plausible. They took someone else and turned them into the mummy, and that started becoming like what you figured they were going to do. Then fast forward, the Invisible Man came out, and they turned it into a really psychological thriller, and it sort of ended up working, but it was so far gone from what the others were that there wasn't any connective tissue left, and they weren't going to be able to do the Monsters Cinematic Universe the way they wanted. If they had taken this movie here and placed it in front, I do believe they would have had a solid starting point. In fact, Renfield comes across as a character that's kind of funny and enjoyable in this movie. And after the events of the movie, you could see him moving on to other things, possibly helping to hunt down monsters. Instead of making the monsters the heroes, we could have had a cinematic universe where the monsters remained sort of the anti-hero bad guys we love and enjoy. Maybe there are stories where some of them are good, and maybe there are stories where some of them are bad. But having that jumping off point from this movie, I think would have done a lot better. I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I should have enjoyed it. And I actually give the movie 4 stars, and I give it 4 stars because it is very comical and it doesn't take itself seriously. You find that a lot of times you're laughing at the absurdity of the things that they put themselves into, the situations they put themselves into. The movie earns its 4 stars just for all of the comical moments they provide, and the fact that they are, despite being more or less a horror comedy, staying very somewhat true to the older movies and the lore that they have in them. You do get to see some things that, kind of seem like they could be contradicting things that went on, but you don't mind. The movie never takes you so far out of what you know about Dracula to necessarily be horrible or misleading. It does, however, treat Dracula in a very comical way. And now, if you're an outright fan of Dracula who believes he's all powerful and should be a force to be reckoned with in his own movie, you might come across as a little disappointed. Now, that is one of the things that I had a problem with in the movie, is that Dracula is treated as a comical instrument within the movie. But it's not his movie, so I kind of have to forgive it for that and take it with a grain of salt. The movie does provide enough laughs to justify what they do, and it is a fun movie. But I want to know what you guys think. Alright, so make sure to leave us a comment in the comment box below. Make sure to share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of the conversation as well. Let us know who your favorite Dracula is because we want to hear your answer. And then don't forget to smash that like button. It's free. It helps the channel. Miko says we need more subscribers. And you don't want to disappoint Miko. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And while you're down there, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.